Monday, Bryce. This podcast is going to be
cybering.
Yeah, we're going to be going up on Cyber Monday. We got all the deals. We got the hot new cyber deals, and including the RageSelect podcast is on sale for $0.00. It's amazing. It's the best.
Isn't that's the story of Black Friday this year?
Yes.
Is that there were no sales?
Yes. Yeah, man. What is up with that? By the way, I'm Jeff. Everybody.
Hi, I'm Bryce.
What was some people asking me like, oh, are you going to have any Black Friday deals? And I was like, traditionally the ones that I like are the streaming services, but those sons of bitches were like, hey, I'll give you $1 a month for 6 months of the ad supported service. And I'm like, the whole reason I'm paying for this is not to have ads. Or it's like, oh, it's only for new and returning customers. So I'm like, if you want, I could cancel this and yell at you for a while, and then you could give me the returning customer discount. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it's not like video cards.
Give me something.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we're in agreement. Did you buy any Black Friday deals?
No. In fact, I bought two things at full price. I just realized. Well, a few things. I bought a few like little games, and then I just bought this piece of software. But I realized I bought it without seeing if there was like any sort of Black Friday deal that they were doing on it. But they probably weren't. So maybe that's fine.
Yeah.
Because I'm not normally a Black Friday shopper. I don't normally. You're
not a deal hunter. You're not looking for all the hot deals.
I don't need the deals. I'm fine with what I've got. I'm good. I'm fine, thank you. My
main problem is the fact that anything that I want is going to be like, oh, it's going on sale from $2,500 to $2,300. And I'm like, that's cool. I don't have either of those amounts of money, so it doesn't really matter how much you discount it.
Yeah. Well, and I just like got back from a vacation that was nice and was a vacation, so it was kind of expensive. So like the last thing on my mind is, I don't know, splurging or I don't know. I'm not in a splurging mood right now.
Okay, all right. Well, that's all right because I've got hot news deals here. We could splurge on all these hot news stories that I've got here lined up.
Please.
But before we actually get to that, let's do the thing so I could put something interesting in the thumbnail for this. What have you been watching? What have you been playing? What have you been up to? Bryce, you told me you were watching an anime? What?
I just finished watching an anime.
Which one?
And the premise. It's Good Night World on Netflix. The idea is this family, this kind of found-made family in a virtual game. Mm-hmm. These four people who, they look out for each other and they care and they like the game and they like the virtual world a lot. And it turns out, all those four people are actually all related to each other and in the same completely dysfunctional, horrific, traumatized, abusive family. Mm-hmm. So, the real world that they are trying to escape is their own actual shitty family that they're replacing with literally the same people in virtual space. That is a really, really cool idea. Mm-hmm. That someone told to the writer of this show. And then that person went and watched Dot Hack Sign and Sword Art Online and did some of that shit for a little while. And then there's just magic. And then the problem is that there's fucking magic. Is that you have this story that is like, could be about depression or dealing with family trauma or commitment or understanding unusual ways of love. And then it's like, oh, but we got to get the evil magic AI dragon because it's going to actually invade humanity. Like, fuck off, man. You almost had something really good here. So I recommend like one half of this, the first half of the season, and then imagine that ending.
That's the greatest. That's the greatest review of a media product I've ever heard. It's like, okay, guys, just watch the first 45 minutes and then turn it off. Use your imagination. Think of a really good ending. And it'll be way better than what you're gonna get.
And I could tell. You know, it was like watching a car crash. You're just watching it in slow motion. Like, hey, you know, we've got these really like powerful emotional plot points here. Spend a lot of time with this little robot-looking guy here, huh? This guy. He's doing the thing where, you know, he gets decapitated, but he's still talking because he's this virtual.
Sure.
You know, that's like that person shouldn't be alive. That person. This thing that it's and I get it. It's a cartoon. It's for children. It's the way of the world. But I think I wanted a therapy session instead of the show that I watched.
Wait, are you telling me that you wanted there to be like an emotional catharsis with growing and changing, and not like, oh, we've got to kill God, but God is like a cyber dragon, and it turns out magic is real, and there's like robots and stuff. You wanted like something with some actual meat.
Yes, because you know what, it's so fucking bad about it too. Like, I don't watch a lot of anime really, so I really kind of got sucked up into it. With there's some bullshit cliffhangers in this, Jeff. Mm-hmm. There are some like just flat out like fake outs, not just flat out like this thing just happened, and then come back to the next episode. This thing just happened. Oh my god. The thing just happened. And you're like, oh my god. Wow, finally the thing. Okay, cool. Okay, the thing just happened. This is all the virtual world. You have been wasting your emotions and interest. Just like a half of a good story.
You need to either start watching comedy animes or animes where from the very beginning they're like, okay, we got to go kill the cyber dragon. That's like that's the whole premise of the show. It's called I got hit by a truck and now I have to kill the cyber dragon season 2.
They here's my that's what they should have said the show was. They shouldn't have said the show is like this dysfunctional family, like untangling their dysfunction. They should have said this is a fucking .hack show, and because it's .hack, it's a mystery. Like, how does this all happening? And also, everyone's fucking related to each other and involved in, because that's the smallest way we can tell a story.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel bad for not expecting more, for expecting more out of what is obviously just shown in anime. But I feel tricked. I was fooled because of the way that they pitched this.
Well, I was going to talk. I finally got around to. They put the Oppenheimer on VOD this week, and I watched it, and how was it? I didn't like it. I mean, it was fine, but like I don't want my biopics to be like. This is my fault. I don't want my biopics to be done by somebody who's like, let's use a bunch of clever time changes and artistic flourishes and blah 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 to do this story.
You wanted kind of a straight ahead story.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's enough there's enough interesting things to say about that whole thing. I don't know. It didn't, like, it was my fault. I have increasingly grown to think that Christopher Nolan is a little bit like overrated. Like, I didn't really like Tenet very much. I didn't really like Interstellar very much. Like, I really liked Memento, but everything after that, I feel like it's kind of been a little bit on a downhill slope. So, and any movie that's 3 hours, I'm going to demand.
That's right, he was Memento. Oh, that's right.
Anything that is 3 hours, I'm going to want it to be like really good. I'm going to want it to be. Sure. It was worth 3 hours. It needed to be 3 hours. And I don't know, like this one was fine. I just didn't have a lot of feelings about it. But I did have a lot of feelings about I just finished listening to an audiobook, and I want to use the opportunity anytime I have the opportunity to pitch Jason Pargin books. I want to do that because I really like his books. I just got done listening to Zoey is Too Drunk for This Dystopia, which is the third in the Zoey Ashe. So for anybody who doesn't know, Jason Pargin / David Wong was the editor of Cracked a long time ago. He wrote John Dies at the end, and then this book is full of spiders. Seriously, dude, don't touch it. And then if this book exists, you're in the wrong universe. And then what the hell did I just read? That's like the John Dies horror franchise. And then he has a second franchise that started with futuristic violence and fancy suits. And this is about this woman named Zoey Ashe that lives in this kind of like near future lawless town that was created in Utah by a bunch of crime billionaires. And there's also kind of like superheroes in it. And I don't know. I really like Jason Pargin because that dude throws a lot of like modern politics and stuff into his books, and so a lot of times the things that the characters are wrestling with are very close to things that I feel like a lot of normal people would encounter in reality. Like kind of the bad guys in the last John Dies at the End book were almost like a cult of incels who found like magic, actual magic, and then started using it to do all the stuff that like incels would want to do online. Or like in the current Zoe book, like it's all framed around a mayoral race between kind of like this really authoritarian nationalistic kind of candidate and then this kind of freewheeling criminal. And so there's a lot of good excuses for speeches and stuff in between a lot of like kind of highfalutin action and stuff. So but I really like his books a lot. I've read all of them. They make really good audiobooks because they're real zippy and snappy. And
so the audiobook is new, or the whole book is new?
This book, the third one, came out October 31st, and it came out in both audiobook and regular. So I pulled it as an audiobook because I'm always looking for something to listen to that's not news podcasts, because the news is hard.
Do they make it, like, how much of a production do they make the audiobook?
I mean, I think that the same woman who read the Zoey's Too Drunk for This Dystopia also read the Zoey Punches the Future in the Dick, which was the second one, and she does a really good job. She does like a few different voices. There's not really like sound effects or anything like that, but this woman, you know, she's one of those audiobook readers that has a different voice for different people. She's able to do different voices, and they come across relatively well, and they kind of make you feel like you're in there. So yeah, it's strange because not all of his books, like the first two first two or three John Dies at the End books are not on audio. They weren't audiobooks, so they're not on like Audible. But I think that all of his stuff is real fun, and it's a good read, especially if you're not used to, if you're like, you know, being a guy that kind of created this crack.com, like the website and stuff. A lot of his writing kind of has a little bit of that vibe and flair to it of what attracted people to crack.com in the first place. So I feel like if you're not if you don't spend a lot of time reading, these are like really easy reads. They really just move and things keep happening, and he's got a good voice. And I've like I said, I've read everything he's put out, and I really like all of it. So
cool. What's his name again?
Jason Pargin.
Jason Pargin.
Yep. He also has it's funny, my friend Amanda, who I record with, he also has a TikTok channel where he does these really, really dry kind of jokey TikToks. And she actually knew him more from that than from his books or any of the other stuff. But he used to be on the Cracked podcast, which I really liked. So he's been doing this for like quite some time. But also I watched that new Doctor Who special that came out last night, and it was good. Russell T Davies knows how to really blatantly yank at your heartstrings and make you tear up because characters that you like are sad about stuff. And they brought back David Tennant for a short run. There's going to be like 4 or 5 episodes. The first one was fun, which is eventually the Jodie Whittaker run of Doctor Who got to a point where I thought there were some good episodes in there, but it was a real hard start. Like the first season of her run was very hard to watch, but as it went on, it kind of, they found their groove a little bit. But it's nice to see this kind of go back to this kind of sappy, emotional Doctor Who, which I like better than what was happening before. So
I see.
Don't watch Oppenheimer. Do watch Doctor Who. That's my recommendation.
Wow. What a okay.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff that you should or maybe should not watch, this is a very weird news week because of Thanksgiving, so there wasn't anything really big happening. But then somehow I cut like 10 stories and still ended up with a link list that's a million years long. But I don't know. Hopefully we'll zip through it. So the first thing that we got was actually, this was really funny. I don't know if you saw this, Bryce, but the Last of Us Part 2 remastered. Okay. Sure. I think that before we get into it, it's so funny the circumstances here because it apparently got listed on like the PlayStation Network, but like as an unlisted thing, and then it got scraped by one of these websites that found it and then reported on it, and then Sony immediately came out and put out the trailer and a press release and stuff. I am 100% certain that this was supposed to be at the Game Awards, like in 2 weeks or whenever that's going to happen, because
we didn't already have the Game Awards this year?
Nope, hasn't happened yet. I think it's
then really? Okay, sorry, Jeff. Not you, Jeff. Jeff Keighley.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff Keighley. Okay, that's. I'm sorry. I have no love lost.
Oh no!
Game Awards.
I just think it's interesting because it seems like the sort of thing that Jeff Keighley really likes. Neil Druckmann and The Last of Us. It seems like the sort of thing that would totally show up there.
It sounds like the almost monument. Oh, it sounds like the almost kind of a thing worth a now. Like, why the fuck did they do this? This game didn't have a PS5 version? What the fuck? This game's like 2 years old. What the shit? How do you remaster it?
So, yeah, I can answer that question. The answer to that question is money. And because the people that like The Last of Us will apparently just buy it over and over and over and over again. Because they had...
Well, it's so...
Mm-hmm. They had The Last of Us... They had like a PS5 upgrade, right, for the PS4 version, but it was like the PS4 version plus, right? It wasn't like a native PS5 version that was optimized and had like super high resolution textures and stuff. Like it had high resolution textures, but as near as I could tell, this is native to the PS5. And then the secret is that this is almost certainly also was created in order to make the PC version, which has not been announced, but will be at some point in the very near future.
Sure, because that's what Sony's doing is they're making PC versions now.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. The thing that saves this, or whatever, the thing that makes this really doable is because this has an upgrade path, right?
Yes.
Like this was a huge bummer with Spider-Man, doing because they did their cross-gen thing was a huge pain in the butt, and so look, I actually don't even know what the benefit is of this. Like, is it, or maybe I need to look into it a little bit more, but it's like, we're definitely 4K, or this is like I don't even know what you would be paying for an upgrade for. But otherwise, like, yeah, it makes sense if they need to, if there's a newer version of the game that works better as a native PS5 thing, then yeah, switch out the box on the shelf, call it remastered, get $10 out of the fans, whatever. Like at that point, like that playbook is so old at this point. Like I'm just glad they're not charging $60 for it again.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I mean, it'll probably run better. It'll probably look better. Will it look significantly better? Maybe in like a Tech Foundry video, but probably not to somebody who already has a 4K TV and a PS5 and played it through before. The game, Naughty Dog games have so much kind of like good art design, and they're really experienced with cheating the programming to make stuff look like they don't rely on like ray tracing or things like that. Like they know how to bake a lot of their stuff in to a point where it looks good. You know, it looked great on the PS3. The Last of Us 1 looked great on the PS3, and all their games consistently look good. This one will probably look better. It'll probably load faster. They'll almost certainly have your standard PS5 bullshit bullet points, 3D audio, haptic feedback, controller, adaptive triggers. They've got a few new outfits that you could play in the game. They've got a few new levels. These actually, when I read up on it, these are like prototype levels, so they're not like even integrated into the game. There's like a few levels that were unfinished, and then they were cut before the final product that you can like play from a menu. They've got the guitar mode where you can play the guitar with some they said they got like other instruments and stuff. I don't know why people love this guitar mode so much, but hey, more power to you. And then probably the biggest thing is this no return feature, which basically is a kind of they say, okay, it's quoted as like a quote roguelike survival mode, but from what I can tell, what it is we have a story here that there was a leak from somebody that updated their LinkedIn page with very specific information who worked on this. There are 12 levels, and then they'll just be like randomly spawned monsters and objectives and things that happen. The levels themselves won't change, but it'll be like a kind of a gauntlet to run through. It sounds like there might be some story stuff that is added in. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you where this is probably just, like I said, it's probably just a dry run for the PC version, right? It's getting all this stuff together so you've got the package ready to be able to put it out on the PC because, as you said, I mean, there's a $10 upgrade path if you already own it on the PlayStation. Sure, I guess, you know. But Bryce, the thing is that I don't know if you and I are the people to be like necessarily, we're not the people this is being marketed to, because like my friend Chris loves this franchise. He's like, I go back and play it once a year. I've played it like a whole bunch of times.
Really?
I'm not into it, but
no way. Because to me, I can't imagine. I played the Last of Us 1 when it came out on the PS3. I'm an old man. Sorry. It's very, again, therapy. I just need therapy from that media. I don't want to play that game again. I enjoyed watching the TV show, but to me, I don't get it. I have no intention of like playing this again or wanting to really love this story, really love these. Like, I get it and I see it and I think that it is cool, and also like it's fine. I'm not gonna build my whole life around it. I'm not gonna get a tattoo of a fucking firefly. What? No, that's not. That's not the level that I'm at.
A lot of people do. Like I think that just even when you looked at like when The Last of Us 2 before it came out, when the it's so funny because they kind of put it in this trailer when what happens at the beginning with Joel happens in the beginning of The Last of Us 2. Like people had so many incredibly strong feelings about this on the internet, and I was just like, yeah, and like, I don't know, that guy sucks. Like, I don't give a shit what your fucking video game dad, something bad happened to him, and you're just gonna be like, brah! Like, to me, it was insane because it's such a dour and like brutal and kind of ugly world to me that I played through these games. I played through the first one a couple times, once basically for myself and then once for RageSelect, and I played through the second one. And when I got to the end of it, I was like, fucking never again with that. That was just like a brutal slog, and like I didn't find anything of redeeming value about morality or beauty or the world or people or anything in it. It was just like the most straightforward. When you what's the saying when you go on a path of revenge, you dig two graves type of thing, and it was that the 60-hour video game, and it was just like, okay, thanks guys, that's what I wanted to do with my life, was just like hang out in this horrible world full of mean, ugly people for hours at a time.
Okay. So okay. Let me sand off some of those edges there, Jeff. Like and there's space, like there is space for like depressing and despair, the catharsis, there is meant to be catharsis in this, and I'm sure that's exactly what it is for a lot of people. You see something sad, not to like remind you of sad stuff, but to like work that shit out. And some people, it really moves them to do that. I think, I'm not going to pretend like The Last of Us Part 1 didn't enthrall me with the ending. Like, I have very strong thoughts about that ending. And there are not a lot of things that will give you strong thoughts. Like, not to say that shit stirring is new, but I understand, I get it, and it's really about me. I see it. It's really so sad. It's just I don't want to. Please don't make me eat my Citizen Kane. I get it. All right, the Rosebud Sled. Just let me play my Jewel game.
No, I get it. In fact, I don't usually talk about it that much on here, because when I know that I am in the minority, where like I think that these are good games, I don't like them as much as other people do. But when I meet people in real life who are fans of these games and I say that, they act like I kicked a dog or something. They're like, "What do you mean you don't like The Last of Us?" And I'm just like, "Well, it's fine. It's just not my favorite game of all time. I like."
You don't love the saddest thing ever? What? You don't love watching a dog die every week? Nah, man. Like, nah. I need a little bit of.
But if you got a PS5, this is probably going to be good. Like, you probably will enjoy this. So, and it's coming out in January 19th. I think that most of the other stuff that I've gotten these news stories we've already talked about. So, there was like I think they mined like the achievements and found that one of the lost levels is probably called a sewers. So some kind of sewer level. People were talking about how
they didn't mine the achievements. They looked up like what the achievement list is and hit show hidden info, and it says complete sewers.
Oh,
like
oh no, wait.
Like
this is a store listing. Actually, this is the store listing that they saw. So yeah. Yeah,
I think there's going to be a digital soundtrack included.
Oh yeah,
stop the press.
Sorry. There were some people. It's funny because in this article that I was reading about this, there were people that were talking about like, oh my god, that probably happens right after this fucking thing happens, and that would be so messed up. And I'm like, I don't remember any of this, and it doesn't mean anything to me. It's fine. Let's see. We've got the 12 levels of no return. Yeah, the other thing, this was just a really brief side thing. Apparently, like, The Last of Us 2 PS5 will have its own trophy list. And when you bring in your save game from the PS4 version, like, it might just net you, if you've already platinumed it, you might just get another platinum trophy. I wish you guys could see Bryce's face right now.
I'm just, in my head, it's just, I know that there's hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm.
There are hundreds of people who, because of the the objective thing that you just said, they're going to spend $10 to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I need the platinum. I'm just going to do that. That's wow.
How will you know your worth as a human being, Bryce, if you don't have a really high gamer score or enough platinum trophies? That's what lets you know you're alive, that you're doing it.
I think I have 3 platinum trophies.
Yeah.
I think I have 3. And they're all visual. They're all like visual novels.
Let's see. Okay, let's move on from The Last of Us to something that I'm sure that you and I both really care a lot about, which is Call of Duty.
Love it. It's okay. Did a Call of Duty just come out? I've been seeing the same like image of a grizzled soldier. So does that mean there's been a new Call of Duty? Is there 6 more weeks of Call of Duty?
Yes.
Because okay.
Modern Warfare 3 just came out. We've got some stuff to talk about with that. This guy?
I think, yes, that guy, exactly.
This guy right here?
I think the Modern Warfare games came out about 20 years ago, actually.
Yeah, this is the remake. So they had the Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3, and then the original, and then the remake of Modern Warfare, and then the sequel to that remake, and then the sequel to that sequel. Yeah. It's a literal Ouroboros of video games. We're watching it happen right now.
Okay.
But this is actually about next year's game, because apparently we're already getting information about next year's game, which is weird because in the last couple of years we've had to wait until like 2 months before to hear anything about the new Call of Duty game.
Right.
But apparently this next one is going to be a new Black Ops game. Black Ops was last around in 2020's Black Ops Cold War that was all in the 80s. I think that one was kind of cool. Like, it started out in Berlin, like a nightclub in Berlin in the 80s, and it had a lot of that stuff to it. This one apparently is going to be set in the Gulf War. You play as a Black Ops squad. So yeah, and apparently the big thing here is that it's gonna pull back a little bit on some of the Black Ops. Started to become these very like. It started to look a lot like Overwatch, where it was like nanotechnology powers. Like the third one had nanotech powers, and the fourth one was like a hero shooter where people had kind of like superpowers that were all attributed to quote unquote nanotechnology. And so
that was Warfare Evolved or something like that.
No, well, there was also Advanced Warfare, and there's also Infinite Warfare, but Black Ops was a little bit more. Like those titles, well, Advanced Warfare was a little bit more like Ghost Recon. Black Ops just started to get into like, I'm going to point my hand at somebody and a stream of nanotech is going to shoot a fireball at them type of thing. Like,
oh, okay.
It went a little off the rails. So,
okay.
Treyarch is going to be making this apparently, which is good. They've had a pretty good track record in the last couple of games they put out. This is probably good news because the thing is that right now Activision is kind of in the middle of it's kind of a bit of a shit show with Modern Warfare 3 right now. Let's see, were they the heads on? I think last one they were, so Call of Duty Vanguard, that was Sledgehammer. They're the ones that did this one. Modern Warfare 2 was Infinity Ward. Okay, so the last time they did something was Black Ops Cold War, which was the 5th Black Ops game. But yeah, so right now, Modern Warfare 3 is kind of getting lambasted. Like, it's got the lowest score of any Modern Warfare kind of ever on Metacritic. It's right now considerably it's doing considerably worse than Modern Warfare 2. The big thing here is that this was like an expansion pack that was then expanded to be a whole game, and a lot of the fans are not happy with the idea of paying $70 for basically what's an expansion pack of kind of a BS campaign mixed with a lot of like multiplayer. You know what? I don't want to say too much because the Call of Duty audience, they hate every new game that comes out. Like every time there's a new one, they're always like, this one's the worst one. But I did find it interesting that this year, right before Thanksgiving, the Call of Duty Twitter account put out a thing thanking all the players, and then they kind of had this like infographic, and I this tickled me. For anybody who knows how to do like very careful reading, you will notice that these are some interesting claims. More hours per player overall than Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 2. So this doesn't mean that there's more players playing it, more hours per player overall.
And compared to those two, are those the two most recent games? Those can't even be the two most recent games, are they?
Yes. Well, then Modern Warfare 2 came out last year, and then 2019 obviously came out in 2019. So there's 2019 Black Ops Cold War, Vanguard, etc.
But what are all those? But aren't all those other games Call of Duty games? Aren't they? Okay. MWZ is the most engaging third mode in Modern Warfare history.
Yeah. So this is Modern Warfare Zombies, which was the Zombies mode that shipped with Modern Warfare 3, is the most engaging third mode in Modern Warfare history. Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 2 both came with a mode called Spec Ops that was like roundly rejected by the entire player base. So the idea that they put zombies back in it and that people then went and played zombies more than these two hated, because when the game launches, you have the single player, multiplayer, and then the like PvE multiplayer PvE mode. So whether that's zombies or Spec Ops, or they've had aliens and different ones. So, yeah, they tried something with Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 2 that was disastrous. So the idea that they just went back to zombies, and all they did was put their zombies in their Warzone map, and then campaign players putting in more time per player in Modern Warfare 3 than the previous two installments. Like these are such specific like claims.
Wow.
Campaign players, so we're not counting anybody that didn't play the campaign previously. So we're only comparing this to people who played the campaign in the last ones, putting in more time per player, so per individual player, in Modern Warfare 3 than the previous two installments, which could honestly be relating to Modern Warfare 2 and Vanguard. Because it didn't say Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 2. It said the previous two installments, which Call of Duty Vanguard.
Is there not a reason to just think that all of these clearly you understand the delineation between the franchise, sub-franchise, the different things, the remakes, the re-remakes, the D-years. I understand that you got it. Is there any reason that for other than the complete academic understanding that there is a meta distinction here? Aren't these all the same game? Isn't Modern Warfare 3 equivalent enough to a to a Call of Duty Black Ops, to a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, to a Vanguard, to are they not even that interchangeable, or are these games like really that substantively different across these sub names and games?
Without going into it too hard, they are in a lot of ways, and this comes from the fact that there are three studios that work on these. There's Sledgehammer, Treyarch, and Infinity Ward, and they trade off from year to year, and each one of them kind of has their own specialty and their own like kind of pros and cons and weaknesses and strengths. Like zombies, I think tends to work. I think Treyarch is the one that makes the zombies modes that people like the best. Infinity Ward traditionally made the multiplayer mode that people liked the most. As near as I could tell. But then there's also like, the thing is that this gets into this very weird category where you're talking about Call of Duty is 4 products at this point. It's the single player, it's the competitive multiplayer, it's their battle royale, and then whatever the quote unquote third mode, zombies or Spec Ops or whatever it is. Like all of those come in kind of one package. And the people that only play Call of Duty are really specific about like, no, the multiplayer in Vanguard was good, even if the story wasn't. It was better than Modern Warfare 2's take on this. So there is some comparison to be made. The big takeaway here, though, is that Activision has spent years like shifting their entire production model to one franchise. Like, they don't make Spyro, they don't make Tony Hawk, they don't make Crash Bandicoot, they make Modern Warfare. And this year, this installment has been pretty roundly rejected by even the people that like Modern Warfare. Like, it has not been well received. There's been a lot of complaints. That's always the case, but it seems like from some of the, like, from these, what I'm trying to say is that this type of infographic, you would boast your most powerful numbers on, and if this is what they have to boast,
these are very, very sad facts.
Yeah, like you would say more sales than Modern Warfare 2, or more sales than Modern Warfare 2 and Vanguard combined, or like more hours over the launch weekend than any Call of Duty in history. Like, if they had those numbers that didn't require all these very specific qualifiers, they would have put that infographic out. They would have just made it easy. So I think that
is this because they have which is the battle royale mode the free to play Call of Duty?
Yes, Warzone.
How much is there cannibalization because of that eating into these yearly releases? This thing is so big at this point. I have to imagine there's got to be some amount of, look, we have all the people who like playing shooters, and we've got the Battle Royale one over here for them. We've got the PvP over here. We got your PvE flavors. We have the most people doing it. This is it's not like people don't fucking know about what Call of Duty is.
Right.
So are we just seeing the stretching of this model now? It's like you can't push this any further, clearly.
Almost certainly. I mean, the big story that I will always remember, I think it was from earlier this year, was that Toys for Bob, which was the company that made the new Crash Bandicoot 4 that was very well received. They made that Spyro remake that was really great. They got moved to making Warzone content. Like, they got moved internally. Like, there was a story about how the team that made Tony Hawk Pro Skater wanted to make Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, or 3 and 4. They made 1 and 2. They want to make 3 and 4. They were put on Warzone content. I think what happens here is that when you put all of your eggs in this basket, it's fine as long as it all works. But the minute that, like, it starts losing even a little bit of profit, you've gone all in to the point where it's like, it seems like they're leveraged to the fucking wall with development studios putting out, Nicki Minaj skins and fucking Skeletors and shit for Warzone. You've got companies that have to make a whole single player campaign that is at least 8 to 10 hours long. You've also got to come up with some way to try to get people to move to the new multiplayer experience, and you've got to have a team dealing with your third modes, whether it's zombies or whatever. And those are several different games, right, that you're packaging together under one product. It's not surprising to me that they might be slipping, because it's also just kind of the thing where it's like, my God, man, you're remaking your old products. Like, I mean, I don't know.
It is that. Gosh, and it's not I think it's also like not an interesting, like, there are also just a lot of free to play shooter games out there. There's a lot of free to play competitive shooter games. You just had Counter-Strike 2 come out. Valorant has shown that it has legs. Mm-hmm. People are still playing Overwatch. You've got the fucking Tom Clancy, all of the Tom Clancy ones. Every
Rainbow
flavor
Six
of
Siege.
Tom Clancy. Siege, The Division's got its fans. Like,
mm-hmm.
like, it seems like there's a lot of coverage, a lot of which is free. I think I just named a lot of competition, but there's a lot of options that are free. I'm imagining Fortnite. I mean, we're looking at the moves of, like, putting Nicki Minaj in Call of Duty.
Right.
Nicki Minaj makes sense in Fortnite.
Yep.
Because, like, she kind of has this, like, pop side of her personality,
mm-hmm.
part of her. But she's Nicki Minaj, and the Activision has money, and so put me in the. I guess that's the barrier that they're trying to figure out how to straddle. Is Fortnite can just be a fever dream. It can just be the Super Smash Brothers. Put the Ninja Turtles and Nicki Minaj and Goku and Master Chief in there, fucking whatever.
Yeah.
Fine, we are accepting like that's a type of reality, but Call of Duty to me is like about people, has humans, is about war, is about offense, defense, offensives, defensives, and that's not family friendly. You clearly can't do it for free, and everyone is doing it for free. So it is really interesting to see this old model, which is what it is. It is a very antiquated model, continuing to churn, continuing to try to churn.
Yep.
It kind of shows that they don't have another thing in the back pocket.
I'm hoping
because
that
Tony Hawk could have been it. Tony Hawk could have been it. I mean, that fucking was it. Remember?
Yeah, or Crash Bandicoot or Spyro or Skylanders, or I mean any of this stuff like could technically work for them, but they seem focused on the thing that makes the most money. And I feel like that part of this too, I don't know, I'm out on a limb here, but I think that we're starting to see that, like, I started talking about this last week. I believe that we are beginning to see the either the beginning of the end, probably not the end, but the shrinkage of the live service model, because there's just too much out there for every game to want you to log in every week for an experience point bonus and things like that. That I think that you're starting to see a lot of these markets are contracting. Like, I think that the Fortnite market is contracting. I think the Call of Duty market is contracting. I'm almost certain that poor fucking Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League game is going to just fall on its face. They couldn't make the Avengers work. Their Destiny is starting to kind of crumble a little bit. Like, that these models are just not as sustainable as they used to be, and that pouring more money into it is not going to help. That it's not going to matter as much in the long term. Like, you're going to keep your diehard fans, but that a lot of these are going to have to contract because the era of I don't know. Like, I'd rather play The Last of Us 2 start to finish than like sign up to play Call of Duty all the time forever. But
sure, that's an existential question, right? Is like how often can we stomach just like reinventing the wheel?
Yeah.
You know, we talk. It is just open that all of these that all the sports games are incremental upgrades.
Sure.
You are basically paying a yearly fee to get your disc and to get the most up-to-date roster and the latest sprinkle of high definition or the latest little chips that they put into something. I sound like a complete crazy person, but this is all real. We just know that that's the way. And I think maybe there is concern about doing that with war, which makes Fortnite something very easy to make all these changes. You can build and you can do concerts, like, because there's not this weird pallor of death over everything. Fortnite, like, even like the little, like, they make a point to like have your character de-res away so that everyone knows that, like, yeah, you got a gun, but we're all like, this is all a game. Like, Call of Duty is the opposite of that. Like, or sorry, I'm just like rambling here. Sorry, I've got to, but is an opposing side of that. It's like the Grand Theft Auto. Do you know why people love Grand Theft Auto? Because you get to steal the cars and shoot people, Jeff. You can't keep reinventing that wheel. That's the thing that kids want to do, and boy howdy, can you do it in high fidelity. And so I think that there's just a lot of creative stretching right now to keep finding new ways to do things or new ways to reframe the same things so that it's different, or it's a spiritual sequel, or it's because we can't keep doing it forever, right? Like, if they made the perfect game, we would be playing it forever. But we got to keep selling you any fucking disc. Okay,
True.
Please, my time is up. Hey, tip your waiters, y'all.
Yeah, let's finish up. We got a couple more Modern Warfare things. Last week I talked about the Gaia skin on Modern Warfare. I don't know if Bryce, this is really interesting. They sell this skin that looks like Groot. And one of the things that let's see if I can find one of the examples here. They've got this Groot, this kind of like tree man skin, and part of this is, let's see, is that this skin,
he hides in the
trees. It's got holes in it. Let's see, Modern Warfare 3. It's that it's so porous that if they lay down like in the grass, it's like really difficult to see. If you're in the dark, the darkness goes through the holes. It's basically a very like kind of pay to win, or people are saying it's pay to win because there's so much camouflage that you get.
Wow. So
yeah, this is an example of what this skin looks like on the ground right here. This is that skin in the game. And
oh my god, you can't wow.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So
interesting.
Yep, people were mad about that. It's being taken out, but it's being taken out like in the next update. So people are giving this a little bit of side eye because it's like you could probably just delist this right away, but you probably want to like keep selling it to people who buy it because it's unfair. You want to basically just like subtly make as much money as you can by tying it to an update as opposed to just like yanking it. Like you can obviously yank a skin off your store. Of course they have the ability to be able to do that. So the idea that they're going to not, they're going to basically tie it to an update is meh. But
I mean, is this removing the skin from like people who have it? Because that's the problem, is putting it in use. Like that would be a reason to put it in an update, is if you are taking it away because there's a competitive element.
I don't know the answer to that, but basically like they're going to try to adjust it so that it's you could see it basically.
Okay, they'll patch it.
They want to change it, but then in the next update, they're going to disable the item until those changes are completed, which still leaves it on the store, but then eventually it'll get disabled, then it'll get reworked, then it'll get put back out, so people will still buy the skin. Yeah.
Okay. Make it purple. Make it purple.
The other one that's really interesting is there have been a bunch of, I know that you don't like keep up with this stuff, Bryce, but there have been a bunch of weird like walk glitches in Modern Warfare. There was one called G-walking that basically made people look like dogs because it was part of the crouch animation, would make them go like way faster than they could normally walk through a map. And then there was another one that was called the Superman bug. Okay. Yeah, where you could kind of end up like jumping very extreme distances. Apparently, Modern Warfare 3, the new thing is snaking. The people snaking around. Yep, where people.
What is it? Oh, look at him go! What the hell? Oh, whoa! Oh my gosh! How? How do they do that?
There's some kind of this stuff all happens when you bind like two actions to the same control and then hit them all at the same time in like the right order. Like you jump and then duck and then sprint at the same time, and then it ends up in this case with your character crawling at an incredibly fast, like a faster than the normal run pace.
Yeah. Snake eater. Oh my goodness.
I love this. I love this stuff because I feel like it makes Call of Duty from like regular into ridiculous. Like, because then by the time everybody figures this out, you've got a bunch of Groots that are all slithering along the ground with their neon purple machine guns shooting at each other. And then it's no longer war. It's like comedy. It's so ridiculous.
It's not even faster. It's just because it's all prone that it makes it look funny. But we're watching this video of the guy keeping up completely in time. It's not like he's going fast or anything.
Yeah,
it's great. I love it.
Yep. Let's see. I think we're just about out of time for part one, but I tell you what, let's just jump through here real fast with there's some Fortnite stuff that ties directly into what we're talking about that happened last week. And so we'll knock this out real fast. Fortnite has added voice reporting, so this is that thing where when you're playing online, there will be a 5-minute kind of buffer of all the voice comms recorded, so that if there's somebody that's doing something inappropriate, you can basically reference it with a direct audio clip instead of having to just be like, that person called me a doo-doo head. You can literally be like, I could cut the part where they called me a doo-doo head, right, and send it in for evaluation. The other thing here is that if you are playing with anybody that is marked under 18, this is always going to be turned on. Like, you can actually opt out of this feature if you're in a game where all players are over 18 and in parties for and among friends where all players have voice reporting set to off when possible. But like, it seems like Fortnite is very much kind of heading in the direction of like, we'd like this to mostly be turned on. We don't want to let people disable it, which I don't know, you know.
I'm surprised they even have that option. Like honestly.
Yeah. This is fine, I think. I mean, just you got to have something like this. The big problem that Fortnite had when it comes to age restriction, I don't know if you read about this, but this week there was an interesting thing where all of there's an update to Fortnite, and what this meant was that all of the islands, the different islands that you can be on, now have an age ranking on them. So they'll be
number one with 12-year-olds.
Right. So there'll be like an E for everyone or an E10 plus or something like that. And then the other side of this
on the different maps, like actually, like, are we talking like, because I thought Fortnite was just one map, or is this like shards?
This is okay. As I understand it, this is not the main. This doesn't have to do with the main battle royale map, or in either build or no build mode. So like, that is not affected by this.
That's a different thing. Okay.
I think that's a different thing. Gotcha. I think this is the individual like user created things, like they'll have little user experiences and stuff. So like, think of the what was who's the girl with the thing on
like
the top,
community level,
top of her head, the concert that they had.
God, that's great.
No, I don't know.
It wasn't Kesha. It wasn't Katy Perry. It was
some kind of K name, pop star lady.
I know there was like, not Grimes. Not Grimes didn't do it. Who was it?
No,
was it a K-pop act? Did Blackpink do it? Who did a Fortnite? See, the thing is, they did so many Fortnite concerts that they're not memorable anymore. And also, they were a while ago. They all stopped doing them because they were expensive.
Anyway, so it'd be for like one of those, or something like that. So the thing is that the big problem that happened here was that if the islands were rated, and then the costumes were rated, and so if you had a costume, if you had a skin that was over. That was an E10 plus, and you tried to go to an E island, it would disable that skin and put you in the default Fortnite skin. And this was very weird. Like, people are still kind of trying to suss out exactly what happened here. Like, Deadpool is a like quote unquote mature skin, but Michael Myers is apparently okay for all islands. So people think that it might be because like Deadpool has like gun holsters and like bullets and stuff, whereas Michael Myers is just a guy in a jumpsuit. But
I mean, it's a game where this is the thing. It's a game where you shoot each other in the fucking face. That's
if you're watching Travis Scott. I mean, if you're watching Travis Scott, you're not shooting people in the face, right?
You can log in and you can choose to not have a gun and listen to music instead. But like, it's a game where you shoot people in the fucking face. Like there needs to be a distinction. Like, I get it. I get that Fortnite is a lot of things. It can be many things. It's beautiful. There's a lot of community options. But like. why is there age ratings on this shooter game? Like this. Okay, I just like this is like that alone is like kind of still weird to me.
I believe the answer to that question is because Epic just had to pay out a shitload of money because they were actually convicted of using like alluring schemes to get underage kids to buy stuff with V-Bucks. So the thing is that I think that this is part of and then the previous story with the chat moderation is like them trying to set up, them very much trying to segregate like underage audience, overage audience, and that's a hard thing to do, right? That's a hard thing to be like, you know, I want to separate these two groups because the overage audience wants to be able to use Deadpool whenever they want, and the underage audience, if the parents see Deadpool, then I'm gonna get into court again for like, why is my kid seeing Deadpool? Why is he seeing Michael Myers on his screen? So like, I think that this is what they're trying to do. Now, the nice thing here is that this happened, and then people freaked out on it. And then Epic came out and said, yes, you guys are right. This is our bad. This has been poorly communicated. We're going to try to roll this back. We're going to try to come up with a better way to do this. And the rollback was coming in like the next update, which probably by the time this is up, I think already has happened. So it was like a number of days that this was an issue. But I don't know. I mean, I at least applaud Epic for being like, we're trying to figure out something, you know, and we're going to end up doing stuff that's going to piss people off, but that we're at least giving it a shot to see if there's a way that we can make this work, to kind of mix these two audiences in a way that isn't going to piss everybody off. So
it's just, it's weird. I get it. It is a tough thing. You're right. They have to separate out that wildly successful thing that made it popular and then the other wildly successful thing that made it popular, because children like both of those, and the way both of those handle children needs to be completely fucking different.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's weird. But at least they're fixing problems.
Yeah. Like if here's a screenshot of somebody showing that Meowscles, the muscle cat guy, is technically restricted, whereas Michael Myers is apparently just fine.
Michael Myers. No, hold on. Actually, hold on. You know what? No. I'm going to get on my soapbox for this. I think this is right. Michael Myers is a man in a utility, in an overall coverall, and a hockey mask. Calling him Meowscles, whatever. Calling him Meowscles did not do justice to the absolute honking furry hunk of a man that you have got on screen. Pecs bigger than his head. Doing the double guns pose here. Yep. You want me to I don't want children to see that. That's a half naked ass it's got a sledgehammer or so. Oh, and a gun. And he's got a gun and a cutesy face. Yep. No, maybe Michael Myers is fine because he's supposed to be scary. He's intimidating looking. He's scary looking, but there's nothing about him that's actually bad for kids. That's a half naked cat hunk.
So what you're saying is that in order for Michael Myers to be inappropriate for kids, you'd have to explain to children why this guy is. You'd have to show the Halloween movie to a kid in order for them to understand.
He'd have to have blood or guts or shit on him.
Right.
It's a game where you kill people, so giving him a gun or a knife means nothing.
Whereas
here.
Meowscles is
basic. I can see his cum gutters, man. Come on. They're deep.
Yep.
They're deep.
Yep. No. Yep. I always say, Bryce, if I have a slogan for RageSelect, it's always go out on the cum gutters. Once those have been mentioned, that means it's time to break. We got to take a break. We got to regroup. We got to let everybody have a moment. And then we come back. We're going to have more news. We'll be right back. And it's time for part 2, which, Bryce, you know that part 2 means that we didn't get through nearly as many stories as I wanted to part 1. So we're going to be going quick. We're going quick. We're going quick like a buddy in part 2.
You started this episode by saying I cut a bunch of stuff.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
I didn't cut near enough things. I needed to cut more things. One day, you and I are going to have a podcast where all we have is one story, and we just talk about one story for 2 hours. And we can just go on as long as we want, as many tangents as we want. No time limit. Yeah. So anyway, this will tell you what kind of slow news week we're having this week. One of the things that I had on here was that Destiny 2 is getting some Witcher 3 cosmetics in the next season. This is actually connected to a story where it turns out Destiny 2's current player base is a lot lower than it has ever been. Like, it used to be that about 100,000 was their lowest consecutive players on Steam, and they went down to 60,000. Now this is possibly because it's they released their last expansion a few months ago, and their next seasonal thing is getting ready to start, so it would kind of make sense for their player numbers to be lower, even if they're a lot lower than they would normally be. But anyway, some cool looking Witcher 3 cosmetics are coming out for everybody. I don't know how many people are like, you know what Destiny really needed was The Witcher, especially considering that these things are $20 a piece or something like that.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Because right now, The Witcher 3, I don't know, I've seen people talk about The Witcher 3 again because it's on sale and they put those next gen patches out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that's, but it's very funny that these things cost twice what The Witcher 3 costs right now.
Yeah.
Great.
If you want to get all 3 skins, it'll be $60 for all 3. So there you go.
They look fine. But okay.
Yep. Let's see. In other CDPR news, we found out that we're going to be getting a kind of, what do they call it? The Ultimate Edition of Cyberpunk 2077. That's the main game and the expansion and the 2.0 update and all that stuff is going to be kind of released in one package. There was a kind of a strange thing that I noticed was that the Xbox Series X/S version, this is important for game preservation, right, is going to have all of that on a series of discs, whereas the PS5 version will have the main game on the disc, but then a download link for the Phantom Liberty expansion. So but yeah, I mean, I know this stuff is important to people who, game preservationists, right? Eventually these servers may be offline or shut down, and so this is a way to kind of hold on to something like that forever.
I mean, you hope to, because that game otherwise doesn't have many online hooks. That's a problem when they put the multiplayer in the game that they said that they were thinking of doing, maybe. But otherwise, there wouldn't need to be any really heavy rights management because presumably these are just DLC, access to DLC data.
Mm-hmm.
So preservation wise, I mean, it's good to know. It's certainly good to know. But I think it will be good thing. Yeah.
Yep. We also found out that Baldur's Gate 3 is getting a huge deluxe physical edition that has the entire game on disc as well as a soundtrack, patches, stickers, cloth maps, posters, and a big old school game box that if you put it on the shelf of Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2 would kind of complete your
fit with you.
Yeah, kind of complete your thing. So
that's nice.
These are pretty cool. There was another edition that they had, another physical edition that was sold out really quick, that had dice and Magic the Gathering cards and no disc. It was called the collector's edition. But this deluxe edition will be sold for $80, and it's selling directly from Larian. And then the most interesting part is that Larian has kind of taken a Steam Deck approach where they're just we're not making a limited number of these. We're set up to create as many of these as are needed, so they're not going to be the sort of thing where you have to work. It may take time for you to get them because they already went on sale. They already sold out their first run instantly, obviously. But
does this include does this include the game on a disc or a key of the game?
No, it includes an actual disc version of the game. So,
Okay.
which
Then that $80 is like not crazy at all.
No.
Like there's enough little tchotchkes here that seems like that makes sense. That's cool.
yeah, it's funny because the PS5 version is 2 discs and the Xbox version is 3 discs. Actually, it looks like the PC version is a custom installer with a Steam key, so it's not there. But of all these online services, Steam seems like the one to me at least that's going to be around for the longest. Just considering, like, if Steam ever shut down, the amount I feel like there would have to be some reckoning about the number of people whose entire game library is just in this one digital service. So, but
I guess why are you gonna throw me? So I can go. I have 4 things ready to hurl at you on that, Jeff. Come on, we got things to go over.
Okay. I made a point though of pointing out that these are going to be available kind of forever, because the funny thing is that people are already pre-ordered them and are trying to scalp them on Steam for inflated prices of up to like $300 for this edition, even though, like, if you just go look at it, there's no shortage. This isn't an artificial scarcity type of thing.
Wow.
Which, yeah, I'm hoping that I don't know. I feel like that I don't know if the scalping thing is as much of a problem for games and hardware stuff outside of like very limited edition things these days as it used to be. Like, I think, you can buy the new consoles, right, without too much trouble, and outside of some very limited things, I think it's I guess the last thing was that whole did you see that in Amsterdam the Van Gogh Museum had like a Pikachu exhibit and people just mobbed it and bought everything on the first day?
So much so that I think we talked about this, that they had to stop selling them and say we were talking about restocking these, but like we cannot do it. There's not a way for us to safely give you cards. So buy, which is crazy because it's made those. I'm sure it's going to make those cards even more valuable. And that's the goal with all the scalping and all the physical edition goodies, is like maybe this is the game that is like a huge franchise. Maybe this is the next Five Nights at Skibbity's, like, who knows? And then you could have the first thing from before it was even cool.
Bryce, I don't want to alarm you, but I believe that by saying
incorrect.
No, I believe by saying the phrase Five Nights at Skibbity's that you might have manifested something into this world that is. I was looking through the games that were coming up on Steam, and I saw a Skibbity toilet game, and I was just like, oh god, it's gone from FNAF to Skibbity, and it's only a matter of time before it's Skibbity versus Golden Freddy in the back rooms, or something like that.
In Ohio.
Yes.
In Backrooms, Ohio.
Yes. Let's see. Sony was trying to get out of a lawsuit. This is in Europe. This is also talking about digital stores. I think this is a really interesting thing that we're seeing more of this. This was in London, and there was a lawsuit that was filed that basically said that, like, this is so weird to me, but this is, I think, the difference between American consumers and European consumers, where it was like, because Sony won't allow third-party organizations to sell things through the PlayStation Store, that is anti-competitive behavior and is artificially inflating prices because they control the market entirely, and they should be allowing other players to basically sell through the PS Store in order to encourage competition.
None of that. Fuck. What? Oh, I almost thought you had something. You had me in the first half. I'm not gonna lie, Jeff.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's really. This, I think, has been settled before. You can't just force the PlayStation Network to have an eBay auction house. You can't. What? You can't just decide, like. The games market has competition. It's Sony and Microsoft and fucking Steam and like
Epic and GOG, all that stuff.
Right. Having a gray market or a secondary market, does not support that first market, and B is not a guarantee or a right.
Yep. Well, maybe because the PlayStation was basically trying to get this lawsuit quashed, and there was a London tribunal that was part of their competition appeal tribunal who said that Sony has failed to establish the complaint has no reasonable grounds for making the claims / no real prospect of succeeding at trial. This trial is going ahead in the UK. Given the UK and the CMAs like being the primary roadblock in the Microsoft Activision acquisition, I feel like I could see a scenario where they try to make a, if they make a successful case, because it seems like, I don't know, whenever we look at consumer rights stuff, I feel like Europe is a little bit more like, well, it doesn't matter if you built the store. You have to allow other, and I don't think they're asking for like the ability for like individual users or anything to use the store. I think what they're saying is that it's like if a game company wants to sell for a lower price, that other distributors can post stuff on that store.
Sure.
And I think the idea here is that the PlayStation Store has evolved from being like a PlayStation delivery device to like a generic digital storefront for this console that should be accessible and not be gatekept by just PlayStation. The weird thing about this, though, is the fact that, like, if that's the case, then everybody's culpable. It's not just PlayStation. It's Xbox. It's Steam. It's Android. And
you have
Apple.
You've destroyed the idea of platforms. Congratulations.
Right.
Fucking what?
Right.
Like,
so.
like, well, and this is so... this is so weird because I'm coming at it from two sides, both of which say that this is stupid. But like you can't. It looks like part of this is about the cut, the
30% cut. Yes,
big.
Yes.
And like you have to be able to prove that is overly. That is somehow what damages is more than you should have been charged, because and I think in general it's going to be there's going to be a tough time doing that. Sony make the only hardware that all of that software runs on. They made all of the software they made a lot of the software that hardware runs on. They run the store. They have hosting fees, CDN fees. I understood. I certainly, as a consumer, I see where there's value similar to the Apple stuff. I understand that you got to keep the lights on, and maybe 30% is the right amount, because this is kind of lower price, lower cost goods. In mobile space, the 30% is kind of a lot because it's a lot of $1 and $2 things. If we're talking about digital games, those are going to be higher ticket price, generally speaking. That 30% is a lot, but the ticket price doesn't change the rate. And that is all to say that to make any argument about that number means you have to say you know what you're going to need to change it to, or why you need to change it. And there's a lot of really great reasoning here, but I would be interested in knowing what their solution and what their correct number is on that, because who knows? Like, there's a world where degraded consumer service is possible. If cause I don't know, someone is trying to fuck around, and
I guess we'll find out. Let's see. Going into my least favorite thing of 2023, labor disputes and layoffs. Sega, apparently, this kind of came out right after we recorded last week, but Sega apparently has been trying to do some of that horrible, sneaky bullshit where they had 80 people at their Sega of America plant that unionized into this Allied Employees Guild Improving Sega, aka Aegis, and it says that Sega is now intending to lay off 80 of the specific. They had 200 people that voted in favor of unionization. That Sega is allegedly looking to lay off 80 of those unionized workers. So 40% of these specific workers that unionized apparently getting cut. After the union was formed, they started negotiating, and then this has been, and then apparently, like, just coincidentally, we decided to cut a big chunk of the staff that just also happened to be a bunch of the people that were kind of in the pro-union camp. So their union is basically getting together with the CWA and trying to get like actual legal relief in this. We'll have to see how it goes. I mean, this is I saw this happen with, there was one other company who kind of did the same thing where like they had a video game union that formed, and then suddenly it was like, oh, like 40% of those people got axed all of a sudden. And it's possible that this could be made easier by the fact that a lot of times these appear to be temp employees, which makes them probably very easy to cut, because we don't generally think as much about cutting temp employees as we do, firing full-time employees, right?
Well, and like temporary employees, that's a really not specific word. Are we talking about contractors? A lot of video game developers are contractors.
Yep.
Because they have I mean, how often do we hear the story of studios firing their staff after the game is done because the game's done and you don't get it anymore? So like that's where all of the creative industries really gonna get stuck is you have freelancers and you have people who are contractors who have to like stick up for themselves, because it's not just I had to work 10 hours a day at computer. You have like these tester folks who have these crazy quotas and these technological hurdles that you have to solve in a deadline that is on the world stage in some cases. So it is a lot of the consolidation over the past decade or two is where a lot of these losses, really these labor losses, are going to be in, because the workers have not progressed the same as companies in that span of time. And so it's going to be, it will all be tough.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So we'll see how this goes. It looks like right now it's currently, like I said, in the NLRB's hands to see if there's some sort of relief that can be done here. I don't know. I as somebody, I know that tech companies in my experience in the past, I know that tech companies like to hire temporary workers because it means they don't have to do what they should do, which is paying, retirement and health benefits and those sorts of things. They want to basically get all of the advantages of being able to bring more people in without any of the obligation, as far as I'm concerned, of turning those people into full-time employees, even when they are. Like, there is a traditional, one of the reasons that a lot of the temp structure, or at least the last time that I was in there, it could be changed since I was last in there, but one of the biggest problems about temps previously was the fact that you get hired on as a temp and then just like left as a temp for years and years and years, even though you were part of the team, you're part of the staff, people knew who you were. You should have been converted to a full-time employee, which then started this system that probably sure is still going on, where temps will get laid off for like 90 days after like a year of employment at a place, in order to make sure that there's not a continuous work like record that would show them as being employees. This actually, I had to do this a few times, where it was like, you work for 14 months or you work for 12 months for a company, and then it's like you have to take like 60 to 90 days off, and in that time you could file for like unemployment, and when you were done you could a lot of times slot right back into exactly where you were. It's just that the companies wanted to make sure that as a paper trail, that you weren't just working there for 4 years as a temp, because there was a lawsuit that was filed against Microsoft for exactly that, where they would just work temps forever without ever converting them. So,
and like, the problem God, it's a really long story, but like that's a fundamental problem, right? They were talking about a lot of jobs that unfortunately, like, are kind of menial, do not inherently have a lot of growth, and require are spaces for people to get in and grow from, right? You start in doing QA and you play these games 10 million times and you hate video games. And if you still like video games after that, maybe you've learned how to code a video game in the meantime. And then you go from there. But the temporary nature of being in that position doesn't mean that the need for quality assurance goes away. It's but we're dealing now with outsourcing like in this case, a lot of these jobs are going to Europe and Japan. Like, that's the alternative is send them somewhere else to get whatever we're talking about jobs here, and I am a noted economist.
Well, I tell you what.
So it's like it's all fucked. It all seems like a mess. Like it's spaghetti. That's my best analysis. Sorry.
Well, maybe here, because I do have a good story, a slightly good story, because Atlas is actually raising the annual salaries of its Japanese staff by 15%. So this is, completely. Now, the people at Atlas, like when you do a comparison, get paid significantly less than they would if they were U.S. developers. But I don't know. It seems like there's actually some upward trend in overall, compensation versus just we're going to pay you as little as we can, then axe you the moment that the work is done type of thing.
That if okay, you know what, you're right. This is like a press release thing. I was gonna say, like, there's a really weird way you can look at this, but no, that's fine. They've got a new base starting salary, and it looks pretty good. So that's the hooray, company has raises. Makes sense. A lot of money going in this pot, says commentator.
Well, at least, after the months and months and months of just like, and then another 100 people here and 100 people there, and it's just like, this is just a tiny little like, oh, that was nice, as opposed to everything I've been reading for the last like 3 months. So let's see. We had speaking of game developers, we had a story where apparently Yoko Taro, the creator of Nier, has said that as long as him and the producer Yosuke Saito are together, that they will want to keep creating Nier content basically forever. Unfortunately, the next thing that they're making is not Nier content, but for everybody, I know that you're a fan of the Nier franchise, so I mostly threw this in to be like, Bryce, there might be more Nier some point in the future at an indeterminate point in time.
That's great. Like, that's awesome. Nier is really cool, and hopefully the success of that franchise means that more people find all of the other really cool things even in the Nier franchise, and that he can continue to make really cool things. There are books, there are short stories, there's stage plays, multiple stage plays that tie into this whole thing. It's cool. Yeah, that's great.
Did you play
awesome.
Did you play the mobile game?
No, I downloaded it, but then I didn't start it. But I mobile games. I got my mobile games. Don't get me started on mobile games.
Okay, all right. Not enough gems. Not enough gems.
Not enough gems. Hit refresh.
Let's see. There's been. Okay, we're talking a little bit about Embracer here, and apparently, there was kind of a back and forth about whether the Knights of the Old Republic remake had been completely canceled since this is under Embracer's umbrella, and Embracer has been such a fucking shitfire recently. This is kind of a back and forth rumor mill thing where apparently Jeff Grubb at Giant Bomb said that the game isn't being worked on right now, and then a few days later, apparently Jason Schreier was able to get in touch with the people at Saber who are working on this and said that they're still working on it, and that it appears to be like making progress. This is such a weird thing. I still wish I could know exactly what happened, because there's this whole story about how Aspire was working on this, and then they did a demonstration to the people at Embracer, and then it was immediately like taken away from them, and one of their producers was fired like afterwards. So, but for anybody that's interested in Nice Old Republic remake, apparently it's not completely dead, that there's still some signs of life that are happening. So
that sounds great. Sounds like a perfect, that's the sign of life. I'm sorry, Star Wars fans. I'm preemptively sorry. This doesn't look good. I mean, it's like that this is everything that you say before you kill it.
Yep. Let's see. Do you know about the Amico, Bryce? Do you remember the Amico?
Yes, I do.
Okay, this kickstarted thing that was supposed to play Android games. It was supposed to be like a throwback to the Intellivision, and they went through their fundraising round, and then they tried to do a second one because they ran out of money, et cetera, et cetera. All of this is in the past. This is a brief note, speaking of horrible shit shows in the game industry, where apparently they just recently released a mobile app that was supposed to be like, I don't even know. It's called Amico Home, and it said it was dramatically reduced the hardware footprint needed to enjoy Amico games. And so there's an interesting article on Kotaku that I read. So here's the thing. You need an Android device in order to load this Amico Home app. You need a second Android device to be the controller for this Amico phone app. So what this would mean for the most part is that you're going to need like a tablet and then also your cell phone in order to play this app, because one will be a dedicated controller and the other one will be the dedicated screen, as if you are using like
so oh my god, is their console just like an AirPlay device?
Yes. This isn't even
yeah,
that.
It is. No, it is. What you're describing is maybe the thing can play fucking solitaire, but what you're describing is remote play.
Yes.
Like, oh my god.
And this has absolutely nothing to do with the actual hardware of the Amico. This is all just its own app that got released recently. And then apparently, once you install the app, there's 2 games that you could play on it right now. One is like Missile. Where is it? Astro Smash and Missile Command. And each one must be purchased individually, and each one costs $15.
Fuck off. Jeez, shut up. Unbelievable.
I don't know. Maybe they got some gems in them, Bryce.
Unbelievable. This is a money laundering operation. This is not for anyone. No one is meant to read this. No one is meant to read this or listen to this or remember this. This is literally noise. Did you ever hear the idea of junk data of chattel? Like, this is nothing. This is actually nothing. I don't see it. It doesn't look like anything to me, Jeff.
Yeah, it's this is okay. Let's be clear.
Wow.
This is watching a company die in slow motion, okay? They can't put out their console. They're trying to get enough money to put out their console by putting out a really bad app. The problem here is that I can't even think of like who this would appeal to. What kind of diehard fan would be like, I want to pay $15 to play Missile Command. Missile Command isn't worth $15, even if you do have 2 cell phones or a tablet and a cell phone to run it on. But
you know
wait, who is it?
Crypto, the blockchain. You just gotta keep holding, Jeff. I just gotta keep holding like the strong invaders from space. I've just gotta keep holding.
I know they did some NFT stuff. Like, Actually, that's not true because
yeah.
part of this was talking about how if you bought one of those dumb NFTs from them, you could redeem it in this store for credits that you could then spend on the games. Or
I can get something?
Something?
I can get something? What?
You might be able to get something for your NFT. Anyway.
Did you say nothing? Something?
Something. Yeah, I don't know why you would ever do this when you could totally, there's plenty of games you could play on your phone without having a second screen. So, let's see. This probably should have been a little bit further back, but apparently we got some like corporate kind of, I don't know, this is some like reports that are happening, but apparently the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake is still being worked on. There was an update that was on the Prince of Persia Twitter account that said that the current one is still being worked on and they reached a major internal milestone. For anybody that has forgotten, this was announced like in 2020 or something, and then like the year later it was taken away from the studio that was making it, then it was given to Ubisoft Montreal. I don't know how it's so hard to remake Prince of Persia Sands of Time. The whole thing is already there. Like, I don't know.
It's already a remake.
I don't entirely understand what the problem. I don't understand how Ubisoft as a company, like this article pointed out that like there's a Splinter Cell remake that's been on their books for a while that's supposed to be going. We haven't heard anything about Beyond Good and Evil 2 in a long time. Skull and Bones has been a total and complete disaster from start to finish. Like Ubisoft just seems to have a hard time these days just like completing a game project and putting it out for people to purchase on the internet. So
maybe Assassin's Creed has been
propping them up
too successful. Yeah, maybe all of those things have just been hedges. Like, whatever. Like, make of the crew. Some people will get tired of Assassin's Creed eventually. We need to have a crew just in. Like, I at some point I have to think that's what a lot of this is, because it's not. It's really fucking weird to see a lot of announcements for games that are just definitely going to die, because it just makes you go and watch all these. I try not to I do poo-poo announcements and trailers and all that stuff a little bit, but part of it is because these games don't even come out anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even fucking see Skull and... But we're still talking about Skull. I was on my wish list, on my PlayStation wish list the other day, Jeff. Do you know what's still on there? I don't even remember the name of it. The little hunting game that they announced right when they announced the PlayStation. The little hunt man, little wild adventure.
Yeah,
little wild man.
The devil's little devil inside.
Yeah,
yes.
That game is not out.
I don't even know if it has a release date. I don't think it even has a release date.
It still says coming soon or just announced. I think that's what it says. It says just announced.
Yeah.
Like you can't. And this game, this title, this Little Devil Inside, was like a big bullet point from that presentation. And these things don't even come out a lot of the time. And even for big companies, even from the Ubisofts, and though you can't fucking trust even the big publishers that these games are going to come out. I don't know how anyone trusts Ubisoft. We know that they make trailers that don't look like that. I can keep going, Jeff, but this is my greatest hits.
Well, speaking of Assassin's Creed, this I don't believe I had this story. Okay, Assassin's Creed Mirage is getting an update that's going to add New Game Plus, because the game is really short and people are demanding a New Game Plus where you can start over with all of your powers, and a permadeath mode. You know, permadeath, something that Assassin's Creed totally needs, because all the rest of the games have had permadeath, and that would make it better. I'm like, these are barely features. Like, I'm sure it took a programmer like 25 minutes to come up with New Game Plus and permadeath, right? Like,
why is New Game Plus not a fucking launch feature anymore? Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's really...
but actually there was something even more insidious that happened. This was interesting. So I don't know. This depends on a lot on.
I saw that. Fuck man. Fuck man. I'm so ready for this, Jeff. Go.
Okay. Okay. So there was okay. So in Assassin's Creed Mirage, or no, wait, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, there was somebody noticed that there was this thing that happened where when they hit the pause button in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, an ad for Assassin's Creed Mirage for like a Black Friday sale for Assassin's Creed Mirage like came up. They were trying to go to the map, but before they could go to the map, a giant ad came up saying like Black Friday sale, fucking 20% off. And then they had to close that in order to be able to look at the map. Needless to say, people were not happy about that. Ubisoft has come out and said that this was like a technical, quote unquote, technical error, that they were trying to update the tiles at the beginning of the game that would show you, when you launch a game, they've got like, oh, here's some DLC, here's some stuff, and 20% off Assassin's Creed Mirage, that it was supposed to be that, but due to a technical error, this showed up where it did in the game. Now, I don't know if there is a plausible technical reason why updating any kind of ad code in the game would cause this to come up over the map with a close button that totally works to close it, outside of that is a feature that is in the game, and that they were sending up some test balloons to see, like, if we do this, is this going to be wildly, like, are we going to get a lot of blowback if we try to put ads inside of this game and then like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it's not a live service game. It's just a single player video game, right?
It's just their single player game that they have to have all these hooks in so that they can inject fucking ads direct. Okay, sorry.
No, that's pretty much it. Like the question is, like, I don't know enough about programming to know, like, is there some way where when you hit the pause button, there's some code that runs, and that somehow whatever that code is got hooked into the wrong thing and was showing this? But it sure as hell seems like something that was in there intentionally that they then turned on. Like, I can't think of a bug where, like, you get ad copy when you hit because it seems like it's placed. It doesn't seem like a huge bug. It seems like something that was placed very specifically with a close button and everything. I don't know.
And I can see a world. Look, I think that this network that Ubisoft has across their old games, which is very valuable. Those games go on Game Pass. People replay those games. Sure, you want to have a little banner for the new thing. Fine,
sure.
At least to me, that makes sense. So they have to have this network, and they have to maintain this network. And I'm sure some variables are weird. Some variables are not well labeled. If you had more quality assurance, maybe this would have been addressed quicker. But I can see it happen. I can see it, because it doesn't make sense to do it every time you would in the video, at least in the glitch as described. It would be every time you went to the map, which you would do something. You would have something like that as a feature, like if you. I don't know, if you're doing a trial version of the game and you need to pester people to do something, or you need to say, hey, you want to see the whole map or whatever. Yeah. Like, I understand why all those buttons are there and why it all works. That doesn't change the fact that it's your responsibility to check these. You have all these games, fucking pop it in and try it. Or you got to let me bloviate, because ultimately we're letting everyone know that Mirage is on sale. Like that's the other thing is like, meh, congrats, we just fucking did it.
Yeah, I don't know. This seems like, to be honest, I've been kind of looking at this a little bit, and the way that it goes to a black screen and that it pops up a specific. Like, it's not the problem that I have with the idea that this is some kind of technical error is that I've seen technical errors. This doesn't seem like a technical error. This seems like code that is in there to specifically do this. And
let me contest that a little bit, though, because a technical error doesn't have to be that technical. We can be talking about, like, If they flipped the wrong variable, they should have put it on 36 and it was 37. And because of course they have space to do full pop-up things, right? Like, I don't think they're not even disputing that it was supposed to be shown to people. It's just that was not in the right place. And I think if that's what they're going to say is, we fucked up when we tried to inject ads to you. I agree. They fucked up when they tried to inject ads. And I think that is technically a technical failure. And they call it that because it sounds like a malfunction or it sounds like a glitch, when anyone can make a technical error. That's just hitting a button wrong.
Oh, there's a Twitter context that has been added to this. This is the last time that I looked at it. This technical error was already in AC Odyssey 4 years ago and could also appear when opening a map. So apparently this is not anything new. This was something that could have happened before, and it looks like it's just gotten triggered by this latest thing. Interesting.
And it just happened, and it's hooked into Ubisoft's hey, the latest thing is promote the new game. Hey,
right.
Say it, got it, cached it, put it in. Like, yeah, I'm not surprised about that either. Like, this is like, it stinks. Like, it's weird. It's interesting that Ubisoft has tried to become like the radio of video games, throw their games everywhere, put them on Game Pass, because it was something for everybody. And then run an ad network under it. Like, okay, I guess that seems like a lot of ads to me.
Yeah. Let's see. Speaking of updates, Starfield just got an update. This was after the beta on the Steam launch. So Starfield on the PC now has official DLSS support in it, which it probably needed on launch because it kind of runs... it's I don't know. It's created to run on like really high end hardware, and so when I tried to run it on the PC, I had a really difficult time running it. I haven't tried this out yet. There's some other graphical options. I feel like I'm just setting up landmines for Bryce over here. When Starfield launched, apparently one of the things that was updated to this was brightness and contrast sliders, which were not in the 1.0 version of the game. Which seems like a big...
I wouldn't expect brightness and no. That's a very weird okay. I mean, cool to add it.
Yeah. They also added the ability to like just eat food that you find in the environment by hitting a button, as opposed to picking up all of the food and then going into your inventory and then eating it in your inventory. Considering how bad the inventory management is in Starfield, I can kind of appreciate that. I don't see anybody saying this, and I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I think this is the new Cyberpunk, man. I think in 3 years, this game is going to be good when they've gotten a chance to work out all the bullshit. But like, it doesn't seem like a finished game. It seems like a No Man's Sky 1.0, where people are like, it seems disappointing. And I just keep going, I just think it's half baked. Like, Microsoft needed something. Microsoft had no games for this year. Redfall flopped. Like, they didn't have a lot of stuff that was coming out. They needed a console specific thing to push the envelope, and they just pushed this thing out half finished, and that it's going to be worked on. It's either going to be worked on and finished by Bethesda, or it'll eventually get enough fan patches a la New Vegas where the community fixes it, adds features, sorts things out, that sort of thing.
Does it seem like because you have the Game Pass element of this, so the numbers are a weird thing to try to look at, but like, does it seem like there is that there is a community growing around this game? Because in some sense, Starfield has to be not just a good game, but it has to be Bethesda, it's tentpole, right? This needs to be their next Westworld theme park, right?
Right.
And I played it. I have not played it. I've not seen it, so I don't know. But do you think that there are characters or stories or anything, or like, not even saying franchisable, but is there something here for people to hook onto and grow into this? Like, yeah, I'm gonna spend fucking eternity with you, just like someone would in League of Legends or Gran Turismo?
Yes, I think that it's closer to something like No Man's Sky or Minecraft or some of the Fallout games where there's a niche community that really gets attached to these sorts of things. I think the thing is that one of the big, in my opinion, strengths of Bethesda games is that they have a very strong framework, like where it's like you can do all these different things, but they may not be like polished in a way that makes them the best. But because they have such a vocal like modding community and such a deep modding community, that like, you know, the starship combat may be a little meh, right? But then that means that modders can come in and make it better, or they can make it better, or et cetera, et cetera. So I think that the thing is that there's enough of a framework here that people will continue to play it. Like the base game is fun. Like the combat is fun, and it's got some edges to it. Like my biggest problem was that the inventory was incredibly small, so I just kept becoming over encumbered. I'm over encumbered. I'm over encumbered. I'm over encumbered. Like and I went to lengths. I created like my own settlement to try to put cargo boxes where I could just offload stuff in between
maybe you
missions.
Didn't need all that stuff. You don't need all of that stuff.
No, but the thing is that like I'm not new to this thing. I'm picking up guns and armor. I'm not picking up like picture frames and candelabras.
Come on, you got to get to the next level. You know that you at some point. I just finished beating Wonderlands 2 the other day, and because apparently I was like 10 minutes away from the ending for a really long time, and I remembered especially the last time I had played that game, like, oh yeah, you just gotta let everything go, like. Even if you you need to decide when you want to when you want to make your weapons better, because you're just going to continue to be given better stuff, classable stuff. So you can't be a pack rat in a situation like that. You got to get your junk on.
I don't know.
Junk it up.
When I stopped playing Starfield, I went and immediately played Cyberpunk. And it was funny because I was playing Cyberpunk and I was like, I have no problem with this. Like, there's so many places to sell things, and your inventory is large enough that you can have a bunch of stuff. Like, you will eventually over encumber yourself, but you have to work at it. Like, you're not going to, you know, in Starfield, it was like every 10 minutes I was over encumbered and I had to stop and I had to try to put stuff into my ship's inventory so I could clear out my inventory, my weight. And then it was like, okay, well, now my ship is full. Okay, well, can I build a bigger ship that has more cargo space? No, you need to get to ship level 2 to do that. It's like, well, I'm trying to get the money.
Just buy gems. Just get some gems and just solve all of this. Like, fucking, what are we doing?
So I don't know. I think that Starfield is going to end up being better. Also, I think there's a thing that happens with Bethesda games that people forget, that where when they first come out, they kind of run like ass on whatever the current hardware set is. And like 2 years later, the standard hardware that everybody has runs their games a lot better. Like Skyrim on the PS3 is a slog.
This is a lot of promises. Like, this is a lot of promises that this game has to... that these are a lot of really convenient promises for a game like this. There's a lot of like I mean it, like, to have an expectation for this brand new game, this brand new huge tent pole of a game, and say, yeah, you know, it's great. I'm so excited for it. It's gonna be cool in a year or two. Mm-hmm. Like, is that what I sounded like when Gran Turismo came out? Because like, I should have just waited. You should just wait. I'm gonna tell you here, they'll be there for it. It'll be there when you get back. So, like, maybe you're better just waiting, because like that. I say it stinks because I've been through it.
Sure, I get what I'm saying. The only point that I'm trying to make
not
here,
an argument, or
yeah,
this is not a fight.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm trying to say is that there are certain games out there, like some games will come out and they'll be broken, and I feel like they never get fixed, right? And it's just like, okay, this is a broken. It doesn't matter what they do to Redfall. The core concept of Redfall is no good, right? They can't fix Redfall because the concept of Redfall was flawed to begin with for Arcane. The concept of Starfield, I think, is solid. It's just the thing is that it's like Cyberpunk, where I started playing it and I went like, there's a good game in here. I'm going to wait for them to I'm going to wait and see if there are updates before I devote any time to it. There are plenty of other games to devote time to. I mean, even just adding DLSS into the game for the PC, right? That's like going to be a performance increase for anybody that's using a 30 or series or higher video card.
Yeah,
I understand the frustration. I understand the frustration.
Well, you know what? And it's not the reason I'm like, well, because this is also running really long, but like it's not a Starfield specific thing that gets me frustrated, but it's like all of this is a lot of really good reasons to not ship a fucking finished game, right? Like, I mean,
not ship an unfinished game.
Like we're talking about New Game Plus. Like the thing should have had New Game Plus. If you think you can beat, I think that when a game is released, it should be released. It should be out.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of huge games and huge franchises that regularly rely on not even trying to do that. Not even trying to I don't know, hold themselves to that standard. Obviously, it can't work in every situation.
Yep.
And I'm sure it does make it a lot easier to manage something like the size of Starfield if you can say, okay, we've got most things pre-launch, but we'll figure out DLSS, or we'll get New Game Plus ironed out at the end. Like, at that point, you're like just literally just shipping stuff off to be fixed later. And that's kind of a bummer because it's not like you need to go into the mines to do it. Like, you could have just... You set the date, you set the deadline,
sure,
and now this game, you have to live with this game that is new. If you care about it, if you really care about it, now you have to be involved in the undulation of it, just so that it's brought up again. And I'm screaming at a cloud, I know, but it's just that kind of is always weird.
Yeah, I mean, one of the when I looked at the we talked about the Game of the Year of nominees last week, and like I was going over the reasons why people have discounted various games, right? So they'll say Resident Evil 4 shouldn't be on that list because it's a remake of an old game. You should only have original games on here. And it was interesting because one of the arguments was made for Baldur's Gate 3, because Baldur's Gate 3 was very much beloved, but even after it launched, the third act of that game had optimization problems and quest marker issues, and was obviously like kind of, shoved out. And it makes a really good impression in the first act. The second act starts to rush a little bit. By the third act, you start to see a little bit more fraying, and they've done a lot of work in Baldur's Gate 3, arguably way more than we've seen out of Starfield since it's launched, of adding in new features and trying to fix bugs and do stuff like that. But I do agree that like our baseline should be a fully featured, fully functional game on day one, and not the like, we'll buy it now and we'll totally fix it, we promise, because that's a bad feeling. It means that, the day that you buy your game, you're like, oh, well, maybe this will work in 2 years, like after they get their shit figured out. Like,
especially when you have companies that are doing the opposite and selling games early.
Right.
But yeah, pay more diehard fan to play this game 3 days earlier. I understand showing enthusiasm and support for something and having faith in something that that you see or you trust from someone else. I get that, but it's really pervert. Like Gran Turismo. I like to think of Gran Turismo because this is very applicable. I got into Gran Turismo because I liked Gran Turismo Sport. I played it. I got it for like $1 or something because it had been out for 6 years, and it was the latest one, and I liked it and whatever. So when GT7 came out, I bought it full freight, full retail price, brand new. I bought it at the most expensive time when it will have the worst, least experience of all time, right? Over the past 2 or 3 years, they've added cars, they've added tracks. They just last week had a big, like a substantial update that actually made the game like a lot like better in some ways. So like I'm glad that I've been a part of that whole thing, but I also know like I could probably join in right about now, and it would have been it would be maybe a better use across that time. And so like I get making games better and fixing things, but this is just a weird thing of almost structurally having to abuse the people who are the most interested, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
What does that say? I need therapy, folks. If you're a therapist, tip your therapist, everyone.
Let's see. We got some trailers left here, and oh boy, we're over time. So let's just crank. Rocket Arena is dead. This was a game that came out in 2020 that was like a kind of a multiplayer game that was all based around the idea of rocket jumping and kind of like old school Quake style RPGs only. It was kind of fun. I played it when it came out. But much like the wrestling battle royale game, I forgot what the name of it, Rumbleverse, and a few of the other ones that just never, the Knockout League, the dodgeball one. There've been a couple of these over the course of the last few years, and I don't feel like they've ever really managed to take hold. So Rocket Arena is now shut down. It's not available on the Steam store, and it was removed from PlayStation November 14th. So yeah, fortunately the team that made it they're working with EA, and they haven't been like liquidated. They're working on something new. So they've, I don't have to say that like 500 people lost their jobs or something, but yeah. And then let's see, before we jump into trailers, brief note, we're getting a Dragon Dogma 2 showcase later this month. There was a teaser. This showcase, actually, by the time you hear this, is going to be happening on November 28th, so Tuesday. So if you're listening to this on Monday, it'll be tomorrow or, whatever.
Tell us how it is.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see. They put out like a teaser for their showcase, and it looks a lot like everything I've seen from Dragon's Dogma 2 so far. So we'll see if there's something new and interesting. So far, I feel like I've seen the exact same presentation for Dragon's Dogma 2 like 3 times. So I don't know.
Yeah, that very small clip seemed just really generic. But I'm not a dragon. I'm not a dragon or a dog man. So that's my outsider take.
Fair enough. Let's roll some trailers. We got the first gameplay trailer for South Park Snow Day, which looks absolutely fucking terrible. I think this looks like one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life. It's gone back to that 3D South Park thing, even though we got South Park figured out in the Stick of Truth and the Fractured But Whole. This is a battle.
You know what it was?
What's that?
You know what it was is they figured out South Park is 3D. It even is 3D today. They make it in Maya, and so someone said, we got these. I'm sure these are what the fucking things look like. We just got these. Because this was the same thing that they did with the N64.
Yep.
Right? Is they made like these weird like round little guys. And then you go like, that's not what they fucking look like.
With like like shaders on their round heads, so you can see what the edges look like. Yeah, and also this is a battle royale game, and it looks fucking awful.
It's a battle royale. Oh, I thought it was deathmatch. Maybe it's both.
Or maybe it's both. I don't know. My brain has a hard time because I feel like we got too like it's like, oh, they tried to do South Park as a game for a long time and it didn't work, and then they finally like did it. And now we're back to this bullshit. Like,
and they're trying to do the thing where like they make it look like everyone's still looking at the camera, the 2D. They shouldn't do that. I feel like someone who's going to do a 3D South, you should do like a 3D. Just go all the way.
Yeah.
Just give me some reverse shot or something. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, it looks fucking awful. It's fucking awful. I don't know. This one makes me madder than anything else out there. But let's see. For me, we got the My Hero Academia Battle Royale games. Speaking of Battle Royale games, this is My Hero Ultra Rumble Season 2 is adding in Endeavor and a few other people. This was the My Hero Academia Battle Royale game that we checked out that is free to play. It's all right. I don't know if I can, like, I don't know. I'm a fan of this franchise, and yet, like, the only thing that they seem to be able to do with this is either like arena fighter and or a battle royale game. I just wish that we could get some good content in this universe that wasn't just like running. I mean, anime games look a lot better now, but I don't know.
If it was good, they would put it in the show. And I think that's the problem with a popular show is if it was good, they would just put it in the show.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's a good sign that they can just focus on the show and base stuff from the show for video. I mean, I don't know. There's a world where we're talking about a licensed anime franchised fighting game. And we're not just saying like, yep, that's that trash. Moving on.
Yep.
Like I don't know. That's trailers. This is not ramble section. Next trailer.
Okay. Speaking of anime games, next trailer is we got another character trailer for Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash, which I actually think is shaping up to look like a very, very good non-online. Technically, it's an arena fighter, but it's not an online one. For this one, we got they've been showing new characters. This one has Nanami, everybody's favorite salaryman guy, which is pretty cool, as well as Mahito. Is that his name? Yeah, Mahito, the kind of the weirdo dude who's like one of the big bads from the season. And then also, it looks like they've got Iso and Kechiku. Kechiku, is that what his name is? Kechizu, yeah, who are kind of like these demon brothers that show up at the end of season 1 to get their asses kicked. But, you know, it's an arena fighter, so you're going to try to shove as many people in as humanly possible. I've been really enjoying everything I've seen for this, even though like it seems like they're doing that thing where they're just going to do the first season, like they're just going to set up all the matches from the first season and then have like talking heads in between or maybe some clips from the show. But I don't know, considering that.
Are you going to play this?
Hell yeah. Yep. I'm a huge fan of this franchise, even though there's not really a place to talk about it on the podcast, but there's been this whole thing this week about the way that Mappa has been overworking the shit out of the people that are animating the show to a place where like Japanese animators are complaining on Twitter, which is like fucking unheard of for the amount of work.
Because of the conditions?
Yeah, okay. Because Mappa took on like 5 different, there was like 3 or 4 like major franchises. Jujutsu Kaisen, the Attack on Titan, they did Hell's Paradise earlier this year, and there was like another big like front and center one, and all of those shows are into the like really hardcore, lots of stuff is happening. So like there was an episode that happened 2 weeks ago where the episode director came out and said we only did about 30% of the animation that we wanted to because we couldn't. What he said, I'm sorry, I couldn't finish all 250 cuts in this episode in 2 weeks. Like,
okay, but also, I mean, we've also had that, right? We've had studios have I mean, Evangelion, like famously, like has that ending. Partly because he ran out of time.
Sure.
But like even through then, it is common for the live versions of anime to still have off-model stuff or have
Yes.
draft, you want to see the real thing, you got to get it on Blu-ray because they actually drew everybody on that one,
Right.
or that kind of thing. So yes, I get it, but also how much is it just talk?
I think
everybody wants to do more.
The major complaint here has been that that they've just normally you'll see a studio that takes on a few shows, and that Mappa has taken on way too many shows that are concurrently airing for the number of people that are working there, and then if there's a problem, they're the episode director was we would one more week to just try to get this incredibly climactic sequence into a much better state before we put it out, and apparently not only that, but the management has been out on Twitter doubling down, saying no, we're going to take on even more work and we don't give a shit what people say about it, type of thing. So I don't know, it's the anime industry is already
sounds like a mess,
fucking garbage, but I like what they put out. Let's see. In other trailers, we got a character trailer for Zenless Zone Zero. I'm actually kind of excited for Zenless Zone Zero.
What's Zenless? Okay, what is that?
Zenless Zone Zero is the third person action free to play game that Hoyoverse is putting out. So kind of Genshin Impact, but more Devil May Cry than Breath of the Wild, and it's got this kind of futuristic aesthetic to it. It's very bombastic. It's got a real kind of bombastic vibe, and it's supposed to be very action heavy. They put out a lot of stuff for it. It's supposed to at least be in some kind of beta, I think, in December. I don't know what makes Hoyoverse so good at this stuff, but they're very good at making characters, all the waifus in Genshin Impact, and then you had the Honkai Star Rail, which has very striking character designs, and then this one seems to be kind of a kind of a Trigun-esque Devil May Cry kind of near future type of thing, where you do these kind of missions, and then there's also a lot of life sim stuff around it, where you can go to the arcade and you can get food and you can do different stuff outside of just the action part of it. So I've heard nothing but good stuff about a lot of their games, and this one seems like it's the one that's the most up my particular alley. So
yeah, I like that it's good that they put a lot of effort into their free to play titles. They really do, I think, seem to try to push the idea of free to play game, of what those free experiences look like, and being very ready to pay. But it seems like they give a lot of game out for free, and that is, I don't know, that's what a lot of the transaction in gaming is now. So yeah, I'm not surprised. They do good stuff like that. I don't think it's more than that. It's they do good stuff, and they make it easy for you to play.
It's also, I've talked about this a few times in the past, but I did want to point out that I don't know when I can't point my finger at exactly when it happened, but man, 3D video games have gotten good. Their anime characters look so much better than they used to. They used to look very they look like a cylinder with eyeballs stuck on it, whereas I think that a lot of the current stuff just looks sharper and is easier to look at, especially if you're a fan of anime. And I think that Hoyo is very good at leveraging that into these really appealing character designs. So yeah. Whenever I think about Genshin Impact, it just makes me
But it's, I don't know. I think about so for a moment I was into Idolmaster stuff, and so everyone thinks of Idolmaster as the 3D characters and doing the little dances and stuff. But one of their first games was all card. It was their mobile game was just all cards and trading cards and portraits and stuff. It's that was even huge back then. So there's always value to being able to just make pretty looking characters. But but people are getting better at it, as you see here, and I'm sure in everyone's personal lives too.
Let's see. We got the full spotlight trailer for Chucky in Dead by Daylight. We knew this was coming. This is framed as like a fake advertisement. I think it's really interesting because like being such a small character means that like one of the powers that he has is being able to, like, there's a thing in Dead by Daylight where the people running away from the murderer will knock down like obstacles, and apparently Chucky can just kind of like run directly underneath them instead of having to like move them out of the way. I don't know. I really appreciate Dead by Daylight's like their ability to add licensed characters into their games as opposed to having to rely on kind of OC stuff. Because I think and this is like, they're putting this out directly, and it wasn't like 2 months ago where they put the alien from Aliens into Dead by Daylight with a kind of a fake Ripley skin and a spaceship. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. It just seems like Dead by Daylight hasn't had their, like, it's great that they're able to do this, but I do feel like the licensed stuff eventually will be upset that it's gone too.
Sure.
I need. Okay. What is wrong, Jeff? What's wrong with me? Are we still going?
We're getting there. We're almost done.
Oh my god! Stop tossing to me. I can't.
Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 is a thing that's going to happen. This one seems to be a combination of Pizzeria Simulator and Sister Location. I can't play VR Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a little bit too scary. I don't want to be jump scared in VR. So this one, I don't know. Last time we did play one of these, but I made Grant do it because I was too scared to do it by myself. I don't know. I mean, it's good that they're still making these. It seems like the perfect franchise for VR games. And as I understand, the first one was very well received. So
yeah. Freddy's is hot right now.
Yep. Let's see. We got the release trailer for the Pale Reach expansion for Dredge. So if you're into Dredge, there's more Dredge. Matt, frequent contributor to RageSelect, has apparently been like all up into Dredge, fishing simulator / eldritch horror game, which I liked a fair amount, but didn't want to get all the way into. So. But yeah, more Dredge. Speaking of DLC, we got a very brief teaser for Atomic Heart's second DLC. This is called the Limbic Ecosystem trailer. It seemed like there was some weird, like, this. I don't know. Part of this makes it look a little bit like Fall Guys, where you're trying to like avoid, like, I don't know. There's a much more.
It looks like a competition game show.
Yeah, with this very bizarre stuff going on. I don't know. I still never got back into Atomic Heart to see if they kind of tuned it to be more fun than it was when it first came out. So let's see. Power Wash Simulator. I just letting everybody know the Back to the Future DLC for Power Wash Simulator came out. I played it. It totally rules. It's got Doc Brown's van, the DeLorean, the courthouse, the movie theater from 2, and the train from 3, and they're really fun to clean off. So
nice. Are they like, is it one level that has all those things, or is it a couple of levels? What does that end up looking like?
No, it's like 6 different levels, so you go to each one of them in turn. What I will say is that unlike some of the previous DLC, a lot of these levels end with some little animation, some little custom animation that'll happen for the thing that you're cleaning, and it's pretty cute. I like the fact that Power Wash Simulator is like, I don't know. I don't want to play Dead by Daylight, but if they put out a Chucky expansion for Power Wash Simulator, I'll clean that guy up real nice. So
yeah, it's great. It's Power Wash Simulator is everything that I feel like I wanted Viscera Cleanup to be, but that game is just boring.
So wait,
just stupid, routine, boring stuff. At least Power Simulator is fun. Like Power Simulator is that idea made good and fun.
Are you telling me that you don't want, if you dip your mop one too many times into bloody water, and then you find out that you've done that by starting to make everything dirty
and the water
again?
Got bloody. Yep. And then every time, so you can't. Then you got to get rid of the water, but don't spill the water.
Don't spill it.
Spill the water.
Yep.
Oh my God, none of that. I had refused. No, please give me something better than that, Jeff.
How about Sonic Dream Team? How about this is the Apple Arcade Sonic game that's coming out. They got an animated intro trailer that shows all your favorite little Sonics sonicking it up. I don't know who Sega uses to make their little intro animations, but they're always very nicely animated, very high quality animation. Even though I'm not the biggest Sonic fan in the world, so
I mean, I think at that point, I think they just go. I'm sure there are anime studios that they just go to, right?
Yeah.
If it's not directly to like a person, but yeah, they always do look good.
Yep. Let's see. We got. Okay, you know what? I'm skipping this. I only put that on there as a good segue to this next one. Did you see this thing? This Inzoi, like the sim. It's just like a Korean like Sims game, but like the characters, if the gameplay is to be believed, they're using like really high resolution characters and environments so that it looks very realistic.
Fucking PlayStation Home. Jeff, it's PlayStation Home.
Well, except it's also The Sims. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I see. Wow, this this is weird. This is interesting. I don't know if there's like a story here or if this is meant to be a simulator. I guess it's meant to be a simulator thing. It looks really, really HD. Why? That's kind of tough for me at the moment, Jeff.
What do you mean it looks HD?
Like, it needs all the other shit that's supposed to be on screen.
What do you mean? Like what?
I don't know. It looks weird.
Okay.
Just,
what it reminds me a lot of is there was I think it might have also been Korean. There was a game that was announced a long time ago where it was this very weird game where like you were playing as a bunch of children that were like kind of collecting these Pokemon-esque monsters, and there was like a lot of different like ways that you could travel around this world, and everything looked very realistic except for the characters that you were playing that all looked like weird anime babies, but but like they were rendered in Unreal Engine 5 with anime faces, and they looked really weird. That's what this kind of reminds me of. Is there's something in this that's triggering the uncanny valley in me like pretty hard. But there's nothing that would say that you couldn't do this, that you couldn't use much more detailed high resolution stuff to make basically The Sims but in a higher resolution context. I don't know, it's very weird.
Yeah, it like yeah, I guess the question is like what the fuck? Like, there's no personality here. They just showed a goofy thing, and it was the Joker. It was like the Joker outfit from the Todd Joker. Like this, there's not like a exactly like personality or charm.
Yeah,
like The Sims has charm. This is the Unreal 5. I made Mario in Unreal 5. Like, there should be charm to this. I don't see the charm. It just seems like how, you know, like everything. Yeah, everything is like modern sterile. It just is like modern sterile. Like it looks very fancy and symmetrical. But where's the love? Where are the llamas?
That's a good question. All right, let's finish up. We got a couple more things here. Space Marine 2 has been delayed from the end of 2023 to the second half of 2024. So a pretty big delay. But as we previously mentioned, and as I mentioned in the past, I'd rather it come out and be fun to play than get shoved out the door when they said they were going to shove it out and have it be half finished and have to spend 3 years getting fixed. So
there you go.
Let's see. Early December it was announced. What was this? Where's my date at? December 6th. There are going to be 2 DLCs out for Shadow Gambit, which is the pirate strategy game. I'm a really big fan of this company, Me Games. They made the last Desperados game and a game called Shadow Tactics, and they made this new one that was about supernatural pirates, and they're putting out basically back-to-back 2 DLCs on the same day. They are also voluntarily dissolving as a studio, so this is like the last thing that they're putting out.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Never mind. That answers a lot of my questions.
Yeah, they put out a press release basically saying that, like, it seems like the games that they put out did okay, but none of them did well enough to give them a cushion. So they were just kind of grinding through all 3 of these games in development back to back with no real, like, just kind of making the same game over and over again. And that they were starting to see all of their workers, like, the edges fraying, and they kind of had a meeting and said, we're just going to go ahead and close up, and we're going to pay everybody for their time and let them find new jobs, which is cool. Let's see. Nintendo is putting an adults-only N64 app on the Switch in Japan. This coincides with the release of Jet Force Gemini. This is specifically has to do with the ratings in Japan. There is a specific rating that can't be, like, GoldenEye and Jet Force Gemini will be on this adults only, like, Switch Online pass, because that has to be segregated from your standard stuff when it comes to the Japanese rating system. So, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that works out. There's going to be new Subnautica in 2025. This is another one of these, like, earnings report things that says the next Subnautica is planned to launch in 2025. Now that it's the end of 2023, we're going to start seeing the year 2025 come up more and more. The team that ported the original Jak and Daxter to the PC, not an emulation, but running on PC hardware, has done the same for Jak and Daxter 2. This is interesting because the programming language that was used to make Jak and Daxter is flexible enough that you could take it and get it running natively on the PC instead of running through an emulator that spoofs the hardware, which gives you a lot more flexibility as far as running the game and things that you can do with it. Yeah, so pretty cool.
Cool. That's cool. That's clever.
Yep. And then last but not least, we've got some fun stuff. I like this one. Baldur's Gate 3 has some sassy medieval hot pants that you can get if you want to mod these into the game. Apparently, they only work on Asterion, who is everybody's favorite himbo, I guess, right now. Maybe, sort of. The vampire guy, which have Art Thou Nasty written on the butt, which is pretty fun.
I'm not.
Last but not least, this is a very strange thing for me. I don't entirely understand this, but a team has created a demastered version of Dark Souls where basically they have taken Dark Souls and then, like, made it look more like a PS1 game with, like, really chunky textures and, like, very visible pixels. I'm kind of fascinated by this because this doesn't seem like the sort of thing that, like, I don't entirely understand the appeal, right? Dark Souls is an older game that isn't exactly like the best looking game in the world at this point. I don't understand why you would want to make it like, I understand why you would make like a 16-bit version, but I don't really understand why you would want to play a PS1 version of Dark Souls. But then I guess I don't have the same nostalgia for that era. Maybe I don't entirely get it.
Well, it's like the Bloodborne cart thing. Like it's part of an aesthetic thing. This does seem a little strange because because they do show some shots that look you really it seems like there's a really big difference in what they're doing, and then some of it just looks like they put some filters on some of the textures in some of just the geometry of the world, which is so I don't know, maybe this is like is this a mod? I'm guessing this is just a mod.
Yeah, it's a mod you can get on Nexus Mods right now. So
okay.
Yep.
All right.
I don't know. A little weird. I almost was thinking like, would I rather just have like a lower resolution pixel filter over the entire feed from the game?
No, you gotta try to do it right. Come on with that. Don't do that. What? I'm gonna mosaic my whole screen. Come on.
And that's our show. That's the show for this week. So, Bryce, we did it. Do you want to tell the 5 people where they can find you when you're not over here helping me with the podcast?
Oh, man. Hey, you can find the marbles wrapped up for the year, but we're going to have more for you soon. We'll have more information and all the other things that I'm working on. But check out marbles.win. It's a website. Get on the email list or get in the Discord, all that sort of stuff. Thank you.
Cool. And thanks for listening. Patreon.com/RageSelect if you want to help us out. Get some bucks, get some bonus videos, get some Discord access, etc., etc. All right. Is the podcast, is it over? I gotta do my Cyber Monday shopping.
Hour 3.
Whatever.
Hour 5.
It never ends. It never ends.